Good.
Okay, folks, welcome back. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at the Trendsetter 7 that is the focus of this particular restoration project. And in this instance here, we're going to just start by looking at the bottom. This should have come with a base. Originally, there was a base with this model to keep it from being topsy-turvy. When this particular one arrived, I realized how easily it would tip over. And I looked at some, some original pictures for reference, and I saw that a base did originally come with it. Now, what I've decided to do in this instance is I'm going to build the base, but it's going to end up sitting up about 4 inches higher. And I may even add some rollers to the bottom to make moving the stereo around a little easier, which will bring it up even another, say, 2 or 3 more inches. So that's going to make this a much more comfortable stereo for adults to use in the setting that it's going to be going into. Now, moving up from here, I will say on the Trendsetter 7 that the speakers also had the color changing, or at least the lights that blinked to the music. Now this one here, I haven't been able to get any sound out of it yet, so I don't know if these still light. If they are not working like that, I'm either going to come up with an alternative, or we're just going to make them look nice and clean like normal speakers and just not have that feature working on this particular model. Now moving up a little bit here, you'll see the control knobs. These are actually the sensitivity knobs that control the how sensitive the blinking lights that would be up higher on the bubble mirror, how much they blink to the music. So these are the adjustments. Now here again, we don't know if that particular light organ works. We'll have to find that out when we start getting some sound out of this unit. The good news is if you go out and look for a new light organ, if you're lucky enough to find one, they're terribly expensive, but you can buy them in a kit, and with some basic soldering skills, you can make your own light organ to replace and get these working. And that's what we'll most likely be doing in this instance here. Now coming up a little further, you'll see the evidence of what I mentioned earlier, that these really were children's units. And this particular model was probably sitting in somebody's basement over the last several years, and somebody's granddaughter or child played with it, and so now it's covered in ink. So we have some tips and tricks to try to clean this up and bring it back to, restored like new. If that's not possible, we will get into some basic repair and skill videos showing how to remove this deck, how to put a new one on, how to replace the whole turntable. This particular turntable's frozen up pretty much. I mean, it's moving, but it's really tight, by touching it, that it's not going to play normal. It's going to need some work, but that's pretty standard issue. It's going to need some basic lubrication and some oil and maybe a few adjustments, and we should be able to get this particular record player working. Now moving on to the actual head unit, almost all of these have some issues with the 8-track when you get them. I mean, they're 45 or 50 years old at this point. This particular one supposedly, and I haven't heard it myself yet, but it squeals. That's an indication of dirty heads and probably some minor lubrication. We'll open it up, take a better look at that, see what we can do. All this magic marker here, we're hoping to get off again with just some basic cleaning techniques that I've developed over the years. Here's a piece of the T-molding, which is the molding that finishes off the top of the MDF on the sides. And this is called T-molding. We'll talk about why it's called T-molding towards the end of this particular video. But these are almost always peeling off, and we're going to have to buy some new T-molding and replace that. Now moving up here, we're going to see this is where the actual light organ lights, the bulk of the blinking would be. This is backed by what's called a bubble mirror. These are very hard to find today. If you do find them, they're considered extremely trendy, ultra modern, retro, but regardless, they're way overpriced. So I have not yet sourced a company that would be able to make me these replica bubble mirrors. So I have developed a couple of different ideas on how I could replicate them if I ever had a unit like this that didn't have the bubble mirror intact. One of my ideas was to make this an LCD TV screen and somewhere retrofit this with some sort of DVD player or something like that, that you could maybe buy like MTV videos, and this could be like an MTV video machine, which would really be cool. So we have ideas, different ways to personalize them, but that's all up to your creativity and imagination. So as we're going to move around the side here, we'll see again how boogered up it is down at the base. But this entire unit is going to get reskinned with vinyl. So when we're done, it's going to look like it just came from the factory and was sitting under the Christmas tree a week ago. Now we're going to move around to the back and we're going to see some evidence of, what I was talking about earlier, and that is that this was clearly, not taken care of. It was in somebody's garage or basement. You see these water stains here. Now, one of the things I've learned in replacing some of this old melamine, if I think that's what it's called, I'll use just pegboard. Pegboard works wonderful. It gives a lot of airflow through the machine and helps keep things cool, and it serves the purpose. So a lot of times I just replace this with pegboard. So moving along here to the other side, we're going to just take a little peek at the T-molding, and you'll see the reason they call it T-molding is it has this little stem in the center, which makes it look like a T. And this slot here is actually made with a slot cutter that is attached to a router. So in this particular build, we're going to be rebuilding the base, and I'll be able to show you how to use that tool, how to line the slot up, and basically how to recreate one of these. Even if you need to replace this body panel, you trace it, you cut your slot in, you rewrap it in new vinyl, and basically you've got a new piece. So we'll cover all those things. In the meantime, I hope that these videos are keeping your interest, and I hope you stay tuned as this build continues.